us a month ago, and it was fun.
Because I prepped for it. But yeah, sorry I'm late here. I was finishing up and trying to hurry along on another interview. This is the interview cycle week, and my God, I've got like 18 a day, it seems.
Yeah, well, that's what you get for being a superstar, man.
Oh, just shush. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys, though. I look forward to my repeat offenders here.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Matt, go ahead and get us started so we don't waste the great Mr. Soto's time.
That's right. Let's do it. All right. Well, here we go. Welcome to another episode of Aftershocks on the CMS Podcast Network.
Drumroll.
And on this episode, we've got one of the top hard rock singers across the globe joining us. And he's getting ready to release his brand new solo album called Wide Awake in My Dreamland. It's set for a November 6th release on Frontiers Music. Let's welcome to the podcast, Mr. Jeff Scott Soto. Jeff, how you doing? Thanks for coming on as always with us.
It's a pleasure being here with you, and I always look forward to talking to you guys. Let me start this off with, let's get rid of the plagiarism side of things. I realized that Pat Benatar had an album called Wide Awake in Dreamland. Now, I'm addressing the elephant in the room. I didn't steal the title from her. It's a great title, and I heard a few people in conversation when I decided to call this album exactly that last year. I know we're going to talk about this anyways, but I'm going to preface it with this. They said, I can't believe what we're living through. This is before COVID. This is before we all went into lockdown. I'm talking about the general consensus of the state of the world, the state of politics, religion, social issues, gender, whatever. You throw it all in. A few people said, I can't believe, I feel like I'm wide awake and dreaming. And so since Benatar already had this title, I said, I have to do it. I have to do it like a personal statement, like it's wide awake in my own personal dreamland. So I didn't want to hear why did you rip off this title from Pat Benatar? But this is why I thought it was just a perfect, I guess the perfect way to describe how I was feeling when we were making this record. And now you add the coincidence of how crazy the world is right now. I mean, the U.S. in general is just, I've never witnessed anything like this in my life. I've never seen such division with people. I've never seen such lunacy on top of dealing with this COVID situation. So it's almost like it was a calling for this album to be called Wide Awake in My Dreamland, because it really, really fits the bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well, like you said, Pat Benatar doesn't have the My in there, right? So you threw a My in there, so it's just Wide Awake in Dreamland, right? So it's different, see?
Exactly. And you know what? I'm gonna add to that, because even my album Lost in the Translation came out shortly after the movie Lost in Translation. Right. And when I was doing that interview cycle, everybody would say, hey, Jeff, I want to talk about your new album, Lost in Translation. No, what separates mine from the actual movie is the word "the."
Just admit it, Jeff. You're a plagiarist, just like Sons of Apollo, Sons of Anarchy. We know you just everything.
All I got to do is sing for the band Art of Anarchy now. Now I've
there you go.
Circle. Well, hell, they had Scott Weiland and Scott Stapp, and I'm Jeff Scott. That would be
kind of right? Yeah. Oh, great, Jeff. Well, yeah, I mean, so Wide Awake in My Dreamland, man, it's your 7th solo record, man. You know, what a record this is. You know, my first observation after listening to it was that it really has such a great mix of all the different sounds and styles that you've done throughout your career and all your bands and projects. So this is really essentially like such an ideal record for your fans who have been following, listening to you now for over the last, 3 decades. Was that the goal that you and, your producer Alessandro Del Vecchio, did you guys have in mind? Was it to sort of take bits and pieces of what you've done throughout your career and sort of mesh them, together into what we're hearing on the new record now?
I'm actually glad you say that and think that, because it's more so what he had in mind. Now, granted, it all started with Frontiers saying, we really would like you to work with Alessandro on the next album, which I immediately thought was a great idea, because I've known Ale for many, many years, and I've watched him just grow into this monolith talent over there, from songwriting to being a band member to some of the bands he's doing at Frontiers to producing to mixing. I mean, he's just become the jack of all trades and master of all. Mm-hmm. So starting from that, I knew that I could entrust and kind of give him my blessing to kind of run the ship, so to speak, to take the helm. And he wrote all the songs on the record, but not only that, he played on all the demos that he sent me.
Okay.
So for me to actually review the songs and kind of yay and nay on certain things that he had in mind for me, he had to play all those instruments and do everything himself. Granted, we were able to, replace all of that with a real drummer and a badass lead guitar player, etc. But when I first started hearing the songs, the first few songs he sent me, I'm like, oh my God, I can totally hear where he's going with this. And it was much later after I think we pretty much had the entire record wrapped. We had all the songs and sorted and everything. He finally came to me and said, when I was writing and creating and even thinking about this album for you, I wanted to take the best of what I felt I loved about your career and what your fans love about your career, and exactly what you said, mesh them together, make them sound modern and contemporary, but also give that classic JSS, Talisman, Wet, even some of my solo records, put even Yngwie, there's even a touch of Yngwie in a song on the record, and put all that together as kind of like a wrap up of everything you've done to date on one record. And I didn't realize it at the time he was doing that, but it made sense at the end when we finally listened to all the mixes. Like, oh my God, dude, I didn't hear it as we were going. I was just like, I like that song. I like that song. I like that song. And then when I listened to it as a whole, I realized what he had in his mind all along. That little bastard, he snuck one on me.
Yeah, well, you just mentioned someone too. You said you're a guitarist. I mean, my two favorite tracks on the record I like. I mean, I think are great are Mystified and Love Will Find a Way. I love those tracks, and one of the main reasons I do is the shredding guitar on both of them. Fabrizio Scatone, man, wow, can that guy freaking play? When I first heard the record, I really thought you'd gotten Nuno Betancourt to play on the record, man, because he just shreds, man.
I can't pull any wool over you guys' eyes. I thought exactly the same thing. And that Nuno is one of those guys I've always wanted to work with, and it just, for whatever reason or another, we just haven't found a situation that's put us together in the studio. But I didn't know Fabrizio. Again, as I said, Alessandro did all the guitars, even mock solos on the original demos of this album. I had to sing all my vocals for the album on the demo versions because of timing. I was coming off this Trans-Siberian Orchestra tour where I wrote all my lyrics, and I had the rehearsals for the Sons of Apollo tour coming up in January with another appearance show thrown in the middle just because I wasn't busy enough. I literally had 2 weeks to come into the studio after a major tour and knock out my vocals. And in the meantime, Alessandro was busy getting the rest of the album tracked with the drums and everything. I had no idea what this guy was about because I didn't know him, and I still haven't shook his hand or met him in person. But Alessandro told me, I got this guitar player. He's a friend of mine. I've never worked with him, but I've known him for years. And I told him one day, I'm going to put you on one of my studio projects. He knew Fabrizio would be the man for this album, knowing that I've worked with Bumblefoot, I've worked with Neil Schon, I've worked with Yngwie Malmsteen, I've played alongside Brian May, I played with so many greats. He knew Fabrizio was the guy, if we couldn't get a name guy, that guy would be able to fill all those holes. And my God, when I heard, I had the same impression, like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
He's like he encapsulated all my favorite guitar players on this record. It truly is incredible. I think he's a brilliant guitar player, and I can't wait to meet him.
No pressure being compared to those guys, right?
Yeah, right. and since you brought up Mystified, I got to throw in this little nugget here.
Okay.
The scramble brain, the warble head that I am, so busy. When we were putting the CD booklet together and all the special thanks and credits and everything, I absolutely forgot the beginning of that song. It was just the rhythm track, Mystified. It's just boom, boom, ba da ba da da ba da ba da bum. And I'm like, it's naked. It needs something. And I said, Ali, is there any way you can get Fabrizio to throw like a little guitar solo line at the top? He goes, oh man, he's in the middle of something or he's traveling. He won't be able to do it. And I need to get this song mixed now. So I reached out to Jorge Salon, my guy in Soto, many years working with Jorge. I said, man, can you just send me just a little thing? And I kind of hummed an idea. He sent it in seconds. He sent it. We dropped it in the track. It was done. Scramblehead over here forgot to thank him on the album. So I'm gonna, in every interview I'm talking about the record, I got to throw in the beginning of Mystified is Jorge Salon doing the opening solo.
Very nice.
Sorry to make such a long story.
No, it's all good.
Oh man, all good.
Well, Jeff, you know, from what I've known of you personally, which is, you know, me and you've been talking for 20 years, I think, at this point, but
you're dating us. You're making us old.
I mean, 2 years. But
just 2 decades.
Well, of course, with you talking for 2 years could be 23 records. So, you know, I mean, that is how you work. But I am surprised. There's a part of me that's surprised that you gave up so much of the creativity to Alessandro. Not that he's not capable and not that he wasn't in lockstep with where you were going.
Yeah.
But that's different for you. And I almost, and again, this is going to be outsider taking a guess. You could tell me I'm on or dead wrong.
Dead wrong.
Okay.
I'm joking.
Am I dead wrong that going that way might be somewhat of a product of working collaboratively for the last 2 records with Sons of Apollo, where you've gotten more into rhythm of working with somebody else instead of having to have all of the creative influence?
You're kind of right and kind of wrong at the same time.
Okay.
The original process of giving Ale basically full reign and 1000% blessing to take full reign had a lot to do with I was just so damn busy. I wasn't able to dig into the album like I normally would on my own. And I usually don't give control to somebody 100% like that, just to trust them and know that they're going to deliver something that I'm going to like or actually love. Normally, it has to be somebody I'm really, really close to and already worked with for so many years. I've known Alessandro for a lot of years, but never worked with him in that capacity. The fact that I was so busy was one of the factors. Like, oh my God, I had the pressure of, I don't know how I'm going to pull this all off the way I normally do things. But when he showed me the results of doing some of the things without my involvement, it sounded like I was fully involved, number one. But number two, it sounded so damn good. I knew I could trust him. I knew I could just kind of pass the torch, so to speak. And what he was going to deliver in the end was just going to smash me. And it's a validation to what he brings to the picture, for starters. But number two, I've just been listening and following so many of the things that he has been putting out there. And I just said, if I can't trust this guy, I don't know who I can trust. I'm so pleased with what I'm hearing him doing with so many different artists on Frontiers, with his own work. I mean, I never even knew the guy could sing, and he's an incredible lead singer too. So I knew I could trust him. I basically gave my newborn baby to him, and I said, raise this child. And I knew he would come up with the results that I wanted.
Sure. Now, listening to Wide Awake in My Dreamland, one thing that jumps out at me anyway is that for the first time in a little while for you personally, you're not writing from a place that has, you know, some losses. And you've obviously had some big ones in the last 2, 3, 4 years now. You know, it just feels like maybe you came at this from a place where, I don't want to say you got over stuff, because you never get over
right.
You know, that stuff, but it almost feels like maybe you've excised that stuff creatively to where you're a little more back to being a little more happy. Is that real? Is that real?
Not necessarily in that context. It's probably mainly because I don't want every affair, every album, every release to include a bummer or a depressing situation. When you lose somebody and you feel compelled to pay tribute to them, a lot of that is more therapeutic than it is trying to emphasize the loss. When I have to write a song about David Z, or I have to write a song for my brother, it's something that I personally need so I can start or complete my grieving process.
Sure.
But also I also do those kinds of things because I realize we're human. We all go through pain and suffering, etc. And so if I could pass that on to somebody else to also kind of use it as a sort of therapy, that's the reason I do those kind of things. But I also don't want, it seems like every album I've been releasing, from the last Soto to the last Sons of Apollo, they're all, even my last solo record, they're all including so much sadness in paying tribute to somebody that I lost that was close to me, that I didn't want to emphasize that on this album. There's already enough emphasis of sadness and loss and grieving going on in the world, especially now with COVID. I'm glad I didn't emphasize that on this record.
Very cool. Speaking of Jeff, I know you guys just released today the video for the track Without You. We checked it out this morning. Really cool video, man, which was obviously done during the whole pandemic. Just talk a bit about the making of that, obviously, because, this is obviously a first time for a lot of people making a video during, a situation like this. I mean, what were some of the biggest challenges of doing a video during, a pandemic?
Well, for starters, Wide Awake was originally slated to be released sooner. I think we were originally counting on the album to be released in July, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. It's only being released in November because clearly none of us had any clue how long this was going to last, how long how long we would actually be subject to not being able to promote it the proper ways and the proper channels. That being said, we realized when we did make we started creating a deadline and a release date, etc. It was still during the height of the pandemic, especially in Brazil. The guy I work with all my videos for the past few years for anything JSS or Soto, just a brilliant music director. I wanted to work with him because he doesn't just make music. He doesn't make music videos. He makes mini films. He makes something that's more cinematic. And I want to keep that process moving forward as I move on as an artist. I don't want to just release more videos of me, behind with just holding a microphone and miming a song. To me, that's boring for the viewer. It's boring for me to just keep putting out there. I have enough of those out there. Mm-hmm. That presented a problem because obviously Brazil was at the height of their COVID, and it was impossible not only to go out and film or to be out even outdoors on your own, to try and find actors that are willing to actually break the quarantine and to actually go out there to be safe and know they're safe. There were so many obstacles. Even here in LA, I had to find somebody that was willing to come and film me. And luckily I have enough connections out here that I found this brilliant, he's actually a really great video director. He's done a lot of really great videos. He said, listen, as long as we adhere to the masks and mandates and social distancing, I'm willing to do it with you. It's just going to be he and I, no makeup artist, no family, no hangers on, just the two of us. And we found our locations and we got my stuff done. But in Brazil, it presented more problems. My guy, Tiago, he found actors willing to do it. He pulled it off. And I think he did a stunning job of making yet another mini movie that represented this song.
Very cool. Where exactly was your parts recorded at in LA there? Because that's I like the shot in the video of that.
Santa Monica. We found a few locations in the Santa Monica Mountains near where I live. I live in an area near Calabasas.
Sure, yeah.
It's chock full of locations and spots that we can go shoot those kinds of things. And it was, the funny thing is I tried shooting my own stuff with a couple friends and then just shooting it with GoPros and stuff like that, and it just looked horrible. I'm like, I don't know if this idea is going to work. But the way Lee shot me with his swing camera moves, and it's just fantastic. His name's Lee Levin. Great. He just has the eye, and thank God he was able to pull this off from me, because I thought it wasn't even going to work. And even my guy in Brazil, he's like, I can't stand using other people's footage. Nobody can capture the visual I have in my eye. And he said that guy shot it the way I would have shot it. So it all worked out great. I'm so lucky to have these talented people in my life.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I was watching the 3-part making of the series for the record, and you mentioned how you recorded the vocals to the record when you got off from tour. You had only about 3 days to do it.
Yeah.
Does doing something like that in a short, period of time, does that seem to work in your advantage because it could kind of keep you from, say, overanalyzing things where you don't have to, you don't have time to just, go back and keep adding and taking things out? I mean, did you find that to be beneficial just to have it done in 3 days and then boom, just leave it be?
Not really. I want to say yes, just for the sake of sounding like Superman. Sure. To be honest with you, I hated the idea.
Okay.
I didn't want to cheat the vocal performances. And one of the luxuries that COVID offered me and the lockdown offered me was the fact, especially because we moved the release date forward, I was able to go back and revisit some things, and I fixed a lot on the record that would have suffered. I think it would have both performances, because I was a bit raspy, I was a bit raw coming from 2 tours. I mean, I literally finished the Soto tour and jumped right into the TSO tour to have to now knock out a full album and then start the Suns tour. I was burnt. Sure. I literally, in January, I literally wished upon a star that I could have the year off. I didn't think I was actually going to get that wish.
So it's your fault.
And it was figuratively, you know, I just wished I had more time to address the album, that I had more time to rest my voice, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, I want to tour until the cows come home, and I want to play live. That's one of the aspects of live I enjoy the most out of what I do for a living. But I truly was burnt, and I felt it reflected, my vocal performance reflected that on the record. I've never been more rested in my life this year than I can remember. And that's why you're going to hear the freshness in my voice on the new Wet album. You're going to hear it in anything that's coming out from this year, how clean and pure and rested my voice truly is.
No doubt, man. Well, Jeff, I'm going to stray away from you sort of just for a second.
Sure.
You introduced the world to Dino Jalusic, who amazing singer, and it was you that brought him to the forefront. And now he's becoming one of these Jeff Scott Soto guys. He's in a lot of projects. He seems to be getting
my work, the little prick.
What was it that you heard? I mean, he's obviously got an amazing voice. Was that what you heard, or did you get to know him first to know that you were comfortable putting your name on him, or what?
Yeah. I met him through TSO. He was one of the new additions in TSO a few years ago. I heard the kid was just so well-rounded, and as he was playing me some of the stuff that he'd worked with his band before Animal Drive, he was playing me some of his original stuff. He played me some of the clips of when he was on different competition shows, and I go, oh my God, this kid, this is like the golden child. And so I did bring him to Frontiers. Originally his I think the name of I think it was Dino and the Mad Dogs or something like that was the name. It was a horrible name. And so I got him started with the whole Frontiers thing, and they loved him from the get-go, and they've been weaning him and pushing him and preening him the way they've done for so many new artists. And that was one of the harder ones, because Frontiers, as you know, are primarily known for picking up veteran acts and acts would already have a name. You realize it's so difficult. You have to have the money and the years and the commitment to break a new artist. And that's one of the things they really, really wanted to start pushing towards. They have so many veteran artists on their roster. They wanted to actually start getting the next generation, the new crew out there. So Dino pretty much represented that. He was pretty much the start of all that. And I'm privileged to be a part of his life and his career. And he's going to be taking care of the old man somewhere, I'm sure, with favors, and maybe I'll have to open for him or play bass in his band someday. But I did the same thing even for BJ, who's a member in
Electric Mob,
and he's got his new band Spectra, it was the same situation. I've been working with BJ for so many years, and he's a great lead singer, but the rest of the world never really got to hear him. And it was through my collaborating with Alessandro. We wrote a couple songs that I finally got Frontiers to bite, and they said, as long as you guys are writing the record, as long as you're producing the record, we're interested in signing this new thing. And we did that for him. Alessandro signed on, and we made a great record for Spectra now.
Excellent. Very good, man. Well, you've also made a great new record for Jeff Scott Soto. Wide Awake in My Dreamland is the record. And Jeff, where should people go to keep up with you and see tour dates if we ever tour again and all that stuff?
Google's the best place.
Google?
There's so many SotoWorld.net and JeffScottSoto.com and Jeff Scott Soto Instagram. It's so easy the one source is Google me. You'll find more things on me, and if you Google me, then you'll just find on one site. So, but yeah, the obvious are my social medias. That's where you're going to get the brunt of who and what I'm about.
Very good, man. Well, Jeff, as always, man, we appreciate you coming on to Aftershocks, and we appreciate everybody listening.
You guys rock. Thank you so much for your outlet, and thank you for supporting music. Thank you for supporting me, and I'll be here talking to you as long as you'll have me.
Awesome.
All good, brother.
Thanks so much, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Jeff, take care.
Thanks for listening to Aftershocks. For more episodes, go to our website at www.aftershockspodcast.com. Visit us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more news and information on the podcast. And be sure to subscribe, listen to, and review all episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other podcast platforms. For your music listening pleasure, visit our website or go to www.shockwavesradio.com. For all comments and questions, please email us at info@aftershockspodcast.com.